Hey everybody, good morning and welcome to your latest Monday. How about that? With Reaper Pro Tips, me, Anne, and sadly disembodied voice Justin is not with us today. He is in a meeting with Ed. So wish him well, and we will soldier on without him. How are y'all doing? How is everybody's happy Monday? Hopefully happy Monday. My happy Monday is a little sleep deprived just because Kiri was like, I'm gonna wake you up twice last night, mama. All weekend she was great. Like all weekend she was great. I got amazing sleep and I was so productive. And then yeah, Monday hits and Kiri's like, you don't need to have sleep during the week. Um, Weird. Nothing has changed. That's very odd. Hold on. I'm gonna text Justin. One sec. One sec. Some people can hear okay and some people can't. Because I'm using my normal mic and I've not changed anything. Let me open volume mixer. That looks all great. Now we're going to open sound settings. We're at good. My Yeti is my proper device. Let me see here. Yeah, it is. Hold on. It is really... there we go. Hold on. Alrighty. Alrighty, I put the volume up. How's that? Okay, how now? Yeah, I'm really getting sick of Windows on this. Alright, we're gonna do that. I really hate this. I should not need to go back into my device settings every time I effing stream. Like, seriously. I'm not going to push it any higher than 90. Kaz, I don't trust Windows. Yeah, it's like seriously, like Windows, like Microsoft, if you wonder why everybody is going to like Macintosh, hello. Your operating system has sucked for decades, and I know because I've been using it since it was DOS. All right, let's see here. All right, so anyway, yeah, once a week it looks like Izzy Lobo. So every Monday I should just put that into my check sound setting box, which is really annoying. Kiri, what's up? Kiri, settle. No, David's not going to be in here today. Settle down. My doglet is not settling. Settle, dog. Settle, dog. Probably has a high incidence rate of potential accident today, so we may be. I mean, I upped it to 90, Kelsey. I get up into 100. I don't like to do that. I'm not gonna pop it as long as you guys can mostly hear. I think I'll leave it where it is. We went 90. I mean, we went to 90 last time, and then 90 was okay. So hold on, let me text Justin that he doesn't need to break his meeting with Ed. Was stupid. Hold on, telling Justin because I actually like went, hey, sound problem. But I kind of wonder if there are other issues. All right, there we go. So we're gonna do that. Yeah, like I don't know. It's just crazy. It's just crazy. You have your volume very high, Skelsey. Everybody, okay, everybody give me a, like, is it decent? Can you hear me? Like, you know, if it's still very low, check your own system, because I think people were mostly saying it was much better. Like, you might want to check your settings. Yeah, Coobs can hear fine. Nomad Zeke's good. Good, good, good. Max Style says good. So, yes, Kelsey, you may want to check to see if Windows screwed up your computer. Good. All right. All right. I'm at about 70%. Yeah. Not my normal volume. Here, let me see. I'll try to crank it up one more. I just hate this. It's like wasting time. I was actually on time today. And it's just dumb. Device properties. I'm going to pop it to 100. And I can't pop it any higher, guys. So that's it. That's all we got. Because I'm not going to mess with my master volume or anything. Alright. So that's loud. Alrighty. Alrighty. We're going to leave it here, and if I blow your ears out, it's everybody else's fault. Right? Okay. Alrighty, ready. Good. Excellent day. Stupid Windows thing. Well, right away, I am going to make a note to myself to check stupid Windows volume now. Monday, check stupid Windows volume. And I'm going to see how often it resets. Stupid Windows volume. Because this is just, like, ridiculous. There is no reason that Windows should do this crap. Yeah, like seriously, it is in exact letters, Nomad Zeke. It is check stupid Windows volume. If you doubt me, I will show you. It is Monday, check stupid Windows volume. See? Yeah, it's gonna go on my computer. I have no idea, Max. It's like, probably knowing Windows, it's just random. Like, when you've been working with the operating system for, 3 decades, you're like, yeah, it's Windows, because Windows. It's just because Windows. Hey, Dragon Eye! We're still, like, only just, like, getting things going because, like, Windows. That's all we need to say, really. Right, Kiri? Windows. Kiri's like, I guess. Alright, so, now that we are here this Monday, I decided that I was going to work on Giant because I was feeling it more than I was feeling Snake Lady. We were working on Snake Lady and her lighting the other day. I want to do more on her before we start putting color on her. Her front didn't get really worked on at all. So we're going to probably work on her on a different day. And it's going to be probably another session before we might start adding color after we get the front of her mocked out. But for now, I wanted to work on Giant King. Oh yeah, so you know, Dragon Eye. You get it. Then you understand when I say because Windows. Like, we were on time until Windows. We were ready to go until Windows. Windows just taking advantage of Monday. Yeah, I use a Mac. I mean, I have pretty much since I went iPhone. It just made sense since everything worked together. Let's see here. What am I working on today? So today we're going to work on another Dungeon Dweller color, because the reason we're working on this metal is because I had an idea and I wanted to see if it worked. So we're going to play with... Oh, wait, wrong color, Ian. Or is it right color? Yeah, it is right color. Skeleton Key. Skeleton Key, a very weird metallic. And I guess we'll do... I figured we'd do TMM because... on this sword. Because, why not, really? And I'll use Dungeon Gray for the base coat for the metal. And I don't know what I'll use for the base coat for the other one. Maybe Cobalt Scale. Yeah, why not? I'm going to use Cobalt Scale on a lot of stuff. So we're going to still mostly work with Dungeon Dwellers colors, but I'm going to pop things in here and there. Yeah, I mean, TMM is just like NMM. You're just using metallics. You do the same exact highlight and shadow placement that you would if you were doing NMM. You just are, in addition, you are fighting the tendency of the paint to be shiny. So TMM is something you always have to be thinking about and making sure your highlights are actually pure metallics. But you need to use your normal colors to shade to control where the highlights go, or it won't look good. No, it looks weird, Jay. I mean, there is one exception, and it's actually a Games Workshop model that I'm working on right now for a commission. It's a female commissar. So essentially, Games Workshop, when they had her painted... Hold on, let me get this sword out of the way. So I can use her as an illustration. Yeah, actually using a Games Workshop model as an illustration. Be very afraid. So I base coated all the gold the same, with the same color. But... And all the silver with the same color, which is just matte color right now. It's not metallic. But on the box art, her breastplate, like anything that would actually be metal, like the gun and the breastplate, is done in TMM. But everything else that would be fabric, like the gold braid and the gold edging on this sort of thing, that is all non-metallic metal. And I think the boots too also went TNM. They went NMM on everything with tiny fine detail, especially. I think maybe except for that, I'd have to check. But so they combined it and they made it different according to surface, right? So anything that's really going to be metal, like the gun or the breastplate, is going to be done with true metallics. And then everything that's cloth would be cloth of gold, quote unquote, they did in NMM. And that's the only example that I've ever seen that really does work, because the cloth would be, partially just yellow and brown fabric, right? And it might have some threads of gold in it, so you can highlight it like metallics, but it's not the same as metal. So in this case, yes, this model does do a combo, and it works. But I would argue that often, unless you have a specific example like this, it won't work. It looks weird. It looks weird to me. So, I mean, again, you're down to thinking about surfaces, right? You're thinking about why would you do NMM and true metallics on the same mini? And the only answer is if you're dealing with like a cloth of gold situation and then actual metal. So, and even then, on fantasy minis, I don't think it carries as well. I don't know. I tend to think it looks very odd because you're asking the eye to do something different with the NMM, and the TMM tends to act just a little bit different. So it's, I think that really the key, and Games Workshop does this, is it when it is painting with NMM, these quote unquote gold parts, it actually doesn't like do things like really pop the highlight or really go for a strong NMM highlight on the edging and the cloth parts. And I think it does that because it knows that it looks weird with TMM. So I'm pretty sure that the staff painter who did this, didn't like try to make everything look super shiny on the gold braid and the edging and stuff because they didn't want it to look bad. And I think if you do pop the NMM and do metallics, it does look really wrong. Your eye wants one or the other. Yeah. Just catching up on stuff. Yeah. So yeah. So Games Workshop, their new models are nice. I mean, they're complicated. They tend to throw a lot of crap onto their models, but it's a good exercise. So anyway, that's why for me, especially on a big model like this, it's going to be either TMM or NMM. You're not going to go with both. You really are, especially not with something like this, where it's all metal. If you tried to do different types of metal on this, it would look very wrong because everything is metal. Or close enough. That doesn't make sense. I don't know, Miss Nimp. It's not telling me that I'm dropping frames. So we're good. On my end, anyway. But yeah, so that is why. And let's just start base coating this sucker. Let's put Mr. We're only working on the sword today because the sword is monstrous. And maybe we'll work on... Maybe Snake Lady will come back tomorrow. Once I get all her highlights nailed. And I also need to choose colors for her. I'm kind of thinking green and purple. Thinking I'm going to go with my green, orange, purple again. Ah! I'm also going to throw paint today. Because I want to. Yeah, it's usually Twitch. When you've got the Twitch reloading and the Twitch low res and the Twitch sound garble, it's like Twitch. Speaking of which, I am going to be doing extra Twitch streams on my channel again this week as we continue our odyssey of trying to get Twitch affiliate for my personal channel. So it'll be, let me just get a big puddle here. There we go. It'll be on Tuesday at 5 p.m. Central, so at the tail end of Michael Proctor's Crow's Nest. And then it will be on Wednesday, probably around 3:30 Central, like my old time slot at Reaper. But yeah, so I've got to do, I don't know how much more I've got to do. I've got to keep going. I have to stream at least 7 or 8 times, I think. And I think we've done 3. So I was planning on like two a week, because it's not too much extra time, but I have a lot to do. I mean, I've got the number of followers, Margaret. And now it's just the number of streams and getting up to the number of hours. The number of hours should be fairly easy because my Wednesday stream is an hour and a half easy, and that's 90 minutes right there. I think it's 500 minutes you need. So we should hit the minutes easily with the number of streams that I planned, which is 2 per week. My thing is that since I had it's a really sleepy Monday, dog father. You're right. My thing is that I just don't want to exhaust myself because it's a lot of extra load to put on top of the Patreon content and commissions. With especially with video editing and all that. So I've been trying to kind of like, work it in, but I have to do it within like 30 days time. So I have to kind of keep an eye on that. And I may need to do a couple of clutch streams on the weekend. Alrighty. So the first thing we do with True Metallic Metal is we put regular paint down. And it is almost always a dark paint. And in this case, maybe I won't use it. I was going to use Dungeon Gray, but Dungeon Gray has a bit of green pigment in it and maybe doesn't cover as well as carbon. Let me see if I can find carbon. No, that's not it. Darn it, I have a carbon gray in here somewhere. Or a Stormy. Stormy, where's my carbon gray? There it is, yay! Okay, what I really like for this is carbon gray. This one, as you can see, Dungeon Gray is a little bit more translucent out the bottle. And, it's also a little green, and that's partially why it's translucent, because it has some other colors in it. And it's made to be good wash over stonework and stuff like that, so it's not as great for base coating color. So let me see what I can do with this. I'm also using a stiffer brush, but yeah, apparently it's just going to be silly with me today. Well, you know how you can fix this, guys. It's actually really easy. You can take 1 drop of pure white and 1 drop of pure black, and you can drop it into any dark gray that is giving you annoyance, and you pretty much can fix it. Because today, I do not wish to deal with colors that are being annoying. There's my black. I wish to only deal with colors that will cover, at least for base coating. Boop, boop, there we go. And I could actually base coat with pure black, but that would actually be kind of annoying. So let's see if that helps. I also might have not shaken them well enough. This is a definite possibility. We're going to try our Dungeon Stone again now that I've doctored it. Doctored it. Oh yeah, much better. It's a little lighter now, but that's all right. I could technically drop a little bit of more black in it if I wanted to. Let's see here. But all it needs to be is dark gray. And you may need to put two layers on for base coating. Usually it covers a bit better than this, but this is also a big flat surface. It's going to show brush strokes. But really what you're doing with your TMM is just like what anytime you use metallics, you want to lay down a base coat of regular paint first. The darker the better. Well, yeah, don't annoy Anne on a Monday when she's short on sleep because of Kiri, yes. I do not understand my dog sometimes. It's like she just waits for it to be during the week when I have to be super productive and I really need brain cells. And then she's like, yeah, we're not going to sleep tonight. Like all weekend, she was just like sleeping like a baby. Last night, got me up twice and then woke me up a third time. But settled back down. Alright, so dark. You know what? I'm going to grab 1 extra drop of this. I'm going to drop an extra drop of pure black in there. Boop. I wanted Dungeon Stone because Skeleton Key is slightly greenish. And so is Dungeon Stone. So I was like, we could work with this. Then it betrayed me. And I probably should think about, like, where else on here I might want to put some skeleton key. These giants are so freaking very, very elaborate that I really have to look and think, where will the extra... What will be what metal is pretty much what you're sitting and thinking at this point. Let me get here. So I think I'm gonna make this one the silver, the skeleton key, and I'm going to think about, one of the reasons is that this this would be gold, this part right here. So I want to alternate, right? I want to alternate silver, gold. Like silver, gold, silver, gold. Don't know about that one yet. That looks like a gemstone. There's probably an inset. I probably should make it silver. Make everything alternate so that you get more contrast. You want a nice solid coat. Well, let's just do that, actually. We can always come back and highlight around the gem. So we'll assume this is going to be an inset in silver. Hey, Valendar! Thanks for the sub. Oh, yeah. Yeah, Corvée, the purpose of this gray isn't as primer. It's because metallic flake is translucent. And in order to get the most shine out of it, you need to put down a dark base coat. So, I mean, if you did a black primer, technically you could go over the top, but I wouldn't do that if you were doing gold, because gold will go greenish, or has the potential to go greenish over a black primer. I always put dark brown down for gold, or something of that sort. You can also use a dark red, or even a dark green, depending on if you want a greenish bronzy kind of look. But yeah, this is not a primer. This is actually as a actual base coat to go under the metallic to make the metallic more shiny. This is how metallic mica flakes work. And even the other flake that we have, the bones flake. They are all made to go much brighter over a dark base coat. So always, always, always when you are doing metallics, first put down a dark base coat of an appropriate color. I could use black Crowley, I just don't like using black. So I tend to use dark gray for my silver, and I tend to use dark brown for my gold. I don't like black because I can't see over it. That's why I don't usually black prime unless I'm trying to do a zenith thing, and then usually it'll pick out the details enough so that I can see. But yeah, you could go with any dark color, really, as long as you're kind of matching it. I mean, you could go with silver, you could go with a dark blue. Just remember that if any of it shows through, you're automatically starting with kind of a blue shift, which you could certainly cover with additional layers of paint, but then you're making more work for yourself. Yeah, much better. It doesn't have to be a really solid coat, but the darker it is, the better. So I'm putting a second quick coat on this side. This is going to be silver and gold inlaid, so I'm going to kind of ignore the runic part for now. Alrighty. Oh, I gotta get that interior part real quick. Yeah, it applies for all metallic paints. However, that said, a darker metallic is almost always got a crap ton of black pigment in it already. And you may find that its intrinsic coverage is really good. Even so, I still would lay down a dark base coat. A good example of this is Scorched Metal, 9125. Covers like a dream, but really, you're going to get a better effect, and you won't have to work as hard if you put down a really dark brown or black under it. In that case, actually, I would go with black, with Scorched Metal, because it's so dark itself. Same with Gunmetal Blue, same Adamantium Black, definitely put a black base coat down. All of those colors cover really well, but if you're going over this bones kind of thing, where it's light, any streakiness is going to be instantly apparent. So the second thing that putting down an opaque paint base coat does underneath your metallic is it prevents that streakiness. You won't get that streakiness from a light base coat. at all if you just like put down a darker base coat. So some of our metallics have a bunch of black in them and cover really well, but you still may get better mileage out of doing a base coat. Yes, it is an additional step, but it is really not much of a pain of an additional step. And it may save you touch-up time later, depending on the color you're working with. But it's the way the flakes are actually set to function. Like, they really are meant to be put over a black or dark background to get maximum shininess. Like, the sample sheets, the swatch sheets that they send out for those flakes actually have the flake over a white and over a black, usually, to show the difference. And it's a lot harder to see the sparkle over the white. Pearl white should be used as a highlighter and not necessarily as itself iffy. If you're going to do it that way, that's a good question. With pearl, it's a very transparent color because it's really meant to be used as a highlighter and not as a actual paint. But if you are going to do it, I would probably use an off-white. Probably something just a tiny bit darker. I think that it's probably going to give you streakiness if you go too dark with your base. Just looking at some of the stuff here. Alrighty, yeah. I am caught up on questions. Good. So let me actually see, maybe I can show you guys as an example. This is still a little sketchy on this base coat, but let's try it. So I'm shaking up my skeleton key. Although the skeleton key doesn't look as green as I remember. Maybe it's just the bottle. Sometimes it is. Oh, there it is. Yeah, that's skeleton key. It's a weird metallic. So just as an example, let's put some skeleton key over this area. Now I still are getting just a little bit of streakiness, but that's because I'm not putting it on good enough. So there versus here. And I can see the gray through it. See how the gray and you can see that delineation mark up here. It's more solid. It just looks a bit better over dark. Now, this isn't what I'm actually doing, so I need to go and figure out what colors I'm going to use. I have a thing in mind. Yeah, pearl white is good for, essentially, pearl white is good for mixing with other colors and for highlighting. I used pearl once for a base coat, but really you do need to do it probably over an off-white, and then you're going to end up highlighting with it after you do like washes or something like that, or you're going to mix it with something and then highlight with it. It really is not made to be a high coverage paint. Yeah, Karaniko, they're supposed to do that. Actually, pearl white is my answer to all those people who used to like the silks and satins. Also, and yeah, transparent cloth, same sort of thing if you're going for a transparent silk. It can be good for that. But yeah, the old pearl paint silks and satin colors, the pearl white is made so that you can make those. You just need to put a clear bright in, drop a clear bright into the pearl white. Or if you're looking for like the teal, you want to put green and blue. Let me find, I want a dark blue. Not that color. Not that color. Is this dark enough? Void blue? Might not be dark enough. We'll try it though. So usually what I use for Fire Giant metal is I use something like blue liner plus white, because I want a dark blue-black, essentially. Maybe I should use this. Maybe I'll use both. What I want to do here is kind of like I thought about using skeleton key, which is a greenish, and maybe using like a dark blue with it. But I don't know that I have a dark blue that's dark enough right here in my tray that's muted enough. We can go with void blue for now. Let's see what we can do. We'll see what we can do. We may need to mix a bit for this. The other color I have is actually unlabeled, but it's Secret Weapon, which we do make the paint for them. Secret Weapon's tire rubber, something like that. And it's a dark teal. You could also use coal black for this, actually, and if I had coal black to hand, it would be a great color to use for this. I essentially want a shading color for my skeleton key. I want to be able... yeah, because those satin colors in Aura are they're just copies of the old Pro paints. Those are the retro silks and satins. Yeah, those are based directly on the old Pro paint formulas. So, yes, Pearl White could be used to replicate those. They didn't sell well enough, so we're unlikely to bring them back. But yeah, we'll just go bright with this and see. But yes, you can actually do it. We've empowered you to make them yourself. All right, everybody knows who Fire Giant is. He can get his card, like, pushed out of the way at this point. I'm going to try to use Void Blue. I might try to some Tianzia Jade. And I'm going to use some Pure Black. So where's my black? There it is. I really want to kind of make this sword interesting visually and lots of colors and have it stand out a fair bit. Ah, there we go. Black. So I'm going to be using these colors and blending them and using them to kind of provide hints of color in the shadows. My highlights are going to be the skeleton key, possibly plus some pearl white if I can find it. Might not be able to find it today. Might have to do that in the future. But that's what I'm kind of thinking. Essentially, I wanted to depart from my usual Fire Giant on this guy and see what I could do. And I haven't used skeleton key, so I was like, yeah, well, we'll see. I do, however, need to color this in. Now, the other thing that can be done with this color, because as we can see, skeleton key is a little bit translucent itself, is you could mix colors with it off the bat. So we could take a higher coverage. Well, we do have Nightmare Black, you know, my gem. But it's a very blue color, and actually, if I had it, I would use it for this. All right, so we got to look at how our hand is being held. Our hand is being held up, and let's see here. I need a light source. Where's my light source? There's my light source. Okay, if I hold it in the correct direction, we can see kind of how it works. I'm holding it toward my big ring light now, so you can see where the brightest highlight falls, right? And then you can see where it's got a dark shadow right under it. And this is matte paint, so these are all very under-emphasized, but they are still there. Then you can see how it comes up to a bit of an under-reflection here. Like, see the bottom edge of this is a little bit brighter than it is up top. You can also see the facets out here. Same thing, really. Coming back up to a highlight, dark shadow, coming back up to a highlight. You see all that, guys? That's very key with NMM. You can see that this is reflecting my skin color down here. And you can see that, again, you have a very dark line here, obviously a shadow, and then this edge is going to pick up the light on the inside. So all of this, you can also see that there's a pretty striking highlight down this top edge. If you look at it, you can see that the light pools there and that the top edge is darker. So this should give you visual information about how to do, you know, this is how you do NMM on this piece, but this is also how we're going to do shaded metallics on this piece. So it's the same darn principle. So you don't actually get off any easier. In fact, TMM could be even harder than regular NMM in a way, because the metallics usually resist blending because of the flake. So you can set yourself up for a lot of pain really easily. Anyway, so okay, we know we have a bright highlight here. Let's see, what can I do here? I wonder if I can mix some green into this. And again, I'm going to be kind of blocking stuff in. I kind of want to see what I can do with these colors. Like almost see what I can, if I can make it look, well, not like a peacock, obviously. It is a little peacocky right now. I might mix myself a black teal out of this Tianzia. This is Anne doing experimental stuff, as you're all going to have to deal with me trying out different things and deciding it's not the effect I want and then trying a different thing. So let's do 2 drops of Void Blue, 1 drop of Tianzia Jade, and 1 drop of Pure Black. Let's try that and see how that base works with the skeleton key. What I really want is dark teal here. The black is going to give it a little extra coverage. Oh, that's a pretty color. Still a bit transparent, but oh well, we'll try it. I'm actually going to mix some of it with my... Ooh, that's pretty. Okay. That's a pretty color. So, okay, let's base coat a little darker then. Yeah, so this is 1 drop of pure black, 1 drop of Tianzia Jade, 2 drops of Void Blue, and then I added a brush full of the Skeleton Key Metallic. And as I go down here, and it's quite dark, it is pretty vibrant, you'll note. A lot of times if I'm doing metallics, I will try to wet blend. It sometimes will make it a little bit easier for you. You have to be very careful with metallics, though. They will strip up super fast and super easy. It stripped up just a little bit there. But there are 2 ways to do this. I'm doing a basic way that y'all would think. Let's see. Oh, somebody said bless you, David. Margaret says bless you from the sneeze. So this is more like a way that people who had not really dealt with TMM before would do it. They would lay down their colors. They would try to work it and block it in, maybe just like you would if you were painting anything like non-metallic metal. But there's another way to do this. So first we'll do it this way. There's another way to do this, and it's probably a better way. But we'll find out. You will find out with me. So I thinned down my Skeleton Key, and now I'm kind of like pulling it. I'm taking advantage of the fact that it's fairly transparent. A more transparent metallic can be very useful to you when you are trying to make it blend in layers. So this is like setting up just like the general colors. I want to end up with a brighter patch here. I'm going to block in where my highlights and shadows go based on what I observed when I held it under the light. And also notice that the, let's see if you can see, it all looks bright on camera, but in reality, the Skeleton Key is a brighter metallic than the one that I mixed all my colors into. Let's blend this a little bit. But yeah, you're going to fight with blending metallics because the flakes are opaque. I mean, they're rock. You're trying to blend with rock. It doesn't have the best results at the best of times. I'm going to throw some white into my mixed color to keep it alive. And if I don't like this, I reserve the right to go back to doing my usual Fair Giant. Because I like how the skin tones on him came out, and if I really don't like true metallic metal on him, then I'm not going to keep it. But yeah, it's really difficult to blend, as you can see. Trying to blend up to make this, like, layer up the highlight is, like, painful. And so this is the problem with doing TMM this way. So the other way... Yeah... Now, you can, like, buff it and kind of make it thinner here and there pretty easily, but you run into some issues trying to blend it. It just does not want to blend. It's rocks. Rocks don't want to blend. Even translucent rocks. They do not naturally take to blending. Now, the bones colors, the bone silvers, are actually blendable. They are layerable. All right. Hey, Canadian Gecko. How's it going? It's the Tianzia. It's really the jade color. It's Pathfinder. Pathfinder. It's one of the Pathfinder paints. One of the many Pathfinder paints you all should have. It's pretty see-through, but it's very punchy, and it's a great mixing color and a great glazing color as well. So one way we can do it. And I do like that I'm still getting some of the green up here. I definitely have more blue down here. So if I wanted to, I could accentuate the blue down here by doing some kind of glaze over the top to darken it, which would drop my metallic color down a bit. It wouldn't be a shiny, see? So that's one way to tackle it. Now let's do the other way. So I could keep working this just like I am with layering, essentially doing it section by section, doing it that way. Let's grab our gigantic brush. Where's gigantic brush? Gigantic brush. Gigantic brush is here to help us base coat this quickly. And it's probably going to be pretty streaky, sadly, because I thinned that skeleton key down. We'll need a couple of different coats. So the other way to do shaded metallics is to do the whole area in a light color first. Try not to let it have big goopy pools, sadly. That seems to be my fate right now. These big goopy pools. And we are getting a little bit of streakiness just because, one, this is a this brush isn't as soft, so it tends to leave brush strokes, the downside of it, when dealing with metallics. And two, I thinned my paint, so I'm going to leave that to set. So essentially what you're doing here is you're starting out with a very light color and then you're painting down. So you're almost doing like a watercolor painting technique for this one. So you're going to start bright, and because it's so hard to layer with metallics, you're essentially taking advantage of that and only working with the shadows, and you're only working with like opaque paint for the shadows. What you're doing is essentially building it up, and you're adding a couple of additives. So while we let this dry, let me find my additives. Let's see here what I have. Oh, it's another pure black. How handy. I don't need that additive. I could use that additive. Oh, that's annoying. Do I have gloss sealer? I had gloss sealer around here somewhere. I have a gloss sealer, but it's not the Reaper gloss sealer. I guess I could use micro gloss, it wouldn't matter. But I might just use regular sealer. So usually I would use a gloss sealer for this, but using the brush-on sealer, if it can also work for you. But essentially what we're doing is we're building a bunch of washes or glazes to paint over the top of our metallics to give us the effect we want. So I'm going to be using this with the black, blue, and green to make some colors to put on top of this. And I'm going to be mixing those colors with a little bit of sealer to give it a bit of body. I'm probably not going to be using water. I'm going to instead be building a bunch of kind of translucent opaque colors with the sealer in them. You can use gloss too. I don't know. It depends kind of on the surfaces, I think, as to whether I would use like a regular brush on sealer or a gloss sealer. If it's a big breastplate, then gloss makes sense because even the tarnished areas are probably going to show some shine. But on areas that are recessed, I'm not so sure that that's the answer, but we'll see. Probably doesn't matter as long as you use a sealer. You just want to get your paint a little bit more translucent. So let me see here. Yeah, sorry. Tianjia, whenever you see me using a teal, assume that it's this. You could also use, this is also the closest probably to the phthalo green that we released at ReaperCon. It is a bit different, but if you're looking for a color that's kind of around that, like this has a bit of white in it, obviously. It is not as dark as the phthalo green. Yay, I'm just building my little puddle of color. And that is almost dry. I would technically want a little bit more solid of a base coat. Adding in some sealer. I'm going to add one drop of water, I think. Oh, it depends. The thing here is how subtle do you want your effects? So actually I'm going to hold off on adding water to this mix. I'm just going to add another drop of sealer. A couple drops of sealer. So this is about 4 drops of sealer added into about 4 drops of paint. So it's about a 1-to-1. I'm going to move it under the... I'm all over the place today. Thank you, Kiri, for sleep disruption. So what I'm building is a wash that's built not with water, but with sealer. It's this thing right here. And it's pretty goopy, but you do want it to cover. It still has transparency though, you can see. And what's great about it is that you can leave texture with it. That's why you're not putting water in it. You actually don't really want it to be smooth unless you decide to do a brush over. You can always like make it more smooth. You could add water to it if you wanted more smooth. But the way that I was taught to do it, and the way that Kirill does it, is to not add water to it. So Kirill Kenev, who is on Facebook, and you should all be following him because he paints amazing things all the time, is a Russian painter who came and did a workshop for Reaper. And a bunch of us came down to learn from him, and he taught me this true metallics technique, and so I really like to do it. Let's see. So now we have to remember where our shadows are, and we remember that our shadows are... Ooh, that's a lot of paint. Too much paint, Anne. And we remember that our shadows are kind of up at the top here. And what this lets you do is to build up layers of shadow, and you can even use a little bit of texture if you want. You can leave it a little irregular. And if you've got a big tarnished blade, like, you know, Fire Giant probably doesn't clean his sword very well. Sorry, Fire Giant, it's true. Then you can leave a little bit of texture. And essentially what you're doing is you're building up layers of shadow here, wherever you would have really dark shadow. So I probably could add a bit more black to this and make it a little darker. I can think about that. I do have to make my black, like, not be totally drying in my palette. For realism's sake, we would not be using a dark teal. If this was anything other than a obviously magical sword, we would probably be using dark browns, possibly. Depending on if we're going to rust it. If you're going to rust anything like this, definitely use a dark brown like walnut. If you are not going to build up rust layers, then you can pretty much do whatever you like. Whatever seems right. I am going to add a little more black to this. Make it go a little bit darker. I want a darker shadow. Because just like with NMM, the darkness of your shadows, you're depending somewhat on that to really pop your highlights. Less so with TMM, obviously. Okay, so that's way, way high coverage now. I'm seeing like lots of brush strokes. I don't want that. So I'm going to drop another drop of sealer in there. Another thing you can do, and it again depends on what you're doing, is if you wanted, you want it to look like maybe baked on oil or something, or like dirt that had been kind of like cured in oil, an oily metal surface, then you might do a little bit of metallic mixed in with this. So yeah, this is very much giving me brush strokes at this point. I need even more sealer, or I need to come in with a more or less damp brush and control it a bit. I don't so much mind that I can do a harsh line with it, because I need to in some places. There are definitely angles here that need a little more control. So we can make this line very, very sharp. Since it is a manufactured surface, we probably want it to be sharp. This technique the goop is just essentially like black, blue, and teal thinned with a little extra black, thinned with sealer, guys. So it's just like 4 drops of sealer and 4 drops of paint. And the advantage of having some opacity is that you can also use this instead of stippling with it. You can use it to draw these sharp lines, which, you know, that's what you miss out on with metallics, is the ability to define these angles. Like metallics, usually, you know, if you do a wash, you just don't get to define really anything, especially on something like this that's really big and flat. So using these techniques to do a little bit more interesting stuff. So now I'm going to take the goop and just kind of brush it in thin layers. If you press it really thin, let me get this in focus and really close. Hold on. In focus and really close. So you can take just a little bit of the goop on your brush and make pretty transparent layers with it. If you don't want as much texture. But be careful that your previous layer is dry. And the way that you just work with this is really you are just building up layers depending on how much texture you want or not. And if this is meant to be where, you know, the metal has darkened because it's been soiled and not cleaned, or it's starting to corrode or whatever, then you definitely want some irregular stippled texture on it. Or if you think you want to just make the surface more interesting, like if he beat this, you know, if he hammered this sword out of iron, and you want it to suggest like there are hammer marks or whatever, like slightly dimpled surface, that's when you would leave a bit of texture to suggest that. It definitely makes it more interesting. And then if you feel that you get a little bit too much, you can always glaze over it with this same mix. So, 1 second. Yeah, Methophile. That's essentially it. You want to start with a dark base coat so you can make a very shiny, light base metallic. So you always, and that's true in any technique with metallics, no matter what technique, this or any other, you always start out with a dark color and put your metallic over the top. But you can choose whether you want to do a layer up kind of version, which is over here, or if you want to do the build up shadows version, which is here. You can still go back and highlight this also. Like, we could take some pearl white, mix it into our skeleton key, and then go up to pure pearl white. You could also use a color like Shining Mithril from Bones. Like, I could come and I'm going to definitely want a very high highlight on this upper edge. If you remember, this whole area here is very light when I was under the light. And then you're thinning just with, not with water, but just with sealer. And it doesn't have to be gloss sealer. I'm not using a gloss sealer right now. And it depends on the effect you want. If you want a duller metal that's more grimed up, then don't use gloss sealer. If you want more of a translucent, like a film of oil kind of effect, then use gloss sealer. Right? It's all tied into the actual effect you're trying to do. In normal, normal day-to-day life, the shadows are just dark on a metal object, right? They don't really reflect light, or they wouldn't be shadows. So you don't necessarily want to use a gloss for your deepest shadows. I find I get perfectly good results with normal sealer, because the Reaper normal sealer is more like a matte or a satin or an eggshell. It's not a dead matte. You can make it a dead matte by adding anti-shine additive to the Reaper sealer, or make it closer to dead matte. But as it stands, it's actually a pretty good metal shadow color. And you can see that it's staying dark no matter which way I turn. You can see that it is darker. So this is what you normally miss out on with shaded metallics, right? If you just throw a wash over it, this control of where your shadow is, right? Where's my shadow? Where's my highlight? Here you can control it. It's much different than just throwing a wash over the surface. So by using opaque paint to shade it, you can control it as much as you do with NMM, or close. There's still a little bit of sheen. You can see it go lighter there when the light is right on it. But you can also still see it's a shadow. So better control than your standard metallics as far as where your lights and darks are. Poof, it's a Wild Rex. Inks, depends on what you mean by ink. Whenever anybody brings up ink, I'm just like, what are you talking about? So if you're using acrylic inks, yeah, you could use those. You'd want to go dark, probably. So I don't know how many muted or dark colors they have in acrylic ink ranges. Most of them seem to be pretty vibrant. So if you're going for the magical happy rainbow sword, yeah. Otherwise, you might want to mix some black ink into those. But I mean, any kind of wash. You could use GW contrast paints probably. You could use, and build up layers of those. You could use anything. This is just the way to hand mix it out of MSP.
If you're using inks, it can be helpful to mix brown and blue.
Yeah, for black. Yep. David is right. Complex, what we call painter's black. So yeah, I mean, acrylic inks are just washes. That's what they are. I mean, they're washes that are a bit more opaque so that you can, using ultrafine pigment, so that you can put them in a pen and make it work. Rathmore, thank you for the sub. 4 months, yay! Well, now, Jetta Rose, you will have to get yourself a fire giant and make a magical happy rainbow sword and make him a pride giant. Or something. You could choose something equally silly.
One thing that inks do differently than at least MSP paint is inks tend to be less matte, more satin.
Yeah.
And I think that actually works really well for shaded metallics.
For metallics, yeah. Well, that's why I'm mixing in the sealer, right? To give the paints a little bit more life. Since the sealer is slightly Sealer, at least unmixed, is tends to be just a little bit more.
Sealer?
Yeah, the brush-on sealer is actually more like a satin or eggshell when you start out. When you add water to it, which most people do, it goes more matte, but it's still not a dead matte. And if you don't shake it at all, if you actually just squeeze it out of the bottle, it's definitely satin. Because it's got matting medium in it, which is usually why I'm admonishing people to shake your sealer, dang it, before you use it. But if you're using it for this and you want that more glossy finish, but not a real gloss, we could just use the gloss sealer. You could do any of that. But yeah, our sealer has always been kind of like a two-faceted product that way. It's meant to be shaken up. It's meant to be kind of an eggshell as far as the finish goes. And then you can always adjust it with the anti-shine additive if you want it really matte. And I'm just highlighting a little bit toward the bottom of this panel. I have to build up more of my... You can see I'm getting a little bit of suggestion there. This I want to appear darker than the outer facets, probably. I want some differential between that. I mean, Daler Rowney inks are acrylic inks, Corvée. That's what they are. Well, the Daler Rowney inks can be pretty intense colors, so if you are looking for something like that, they give you a little bit of different types of pigments than, you know, MSP. So it varies. I had some, and then I never touched them. So you have a point there, Corvée, where if you're just looking for something, but you're only going to try it, and you don't know if you're going to use it a lot, I would just borrow a friend's bottle and try it out, and see if you love it. And if you love it, pick up more. But I don't think, like, I invested in a set so I could kind of figure out what they were. And once I figured out what they were, I was just like, well, okay. And I just never used them for painting after that. I would just rather use what I've got. Let's see here. So I've got a little bit of a facet. Remember, we didn't have much of a... Let me see if I can duplicate my light source here. There and there and there. We were looking at a top light source. So we want this all to kind of figure out. We want to figure out if we're making it look correct there. So yeah, pretty much. Friends, what are those? Yes. This is the Fire Giant. I tend to go blue with the metal on my Fire Giants. Hold on, where is it? Yeah, Twisted Oma. I go blue with the metal on my Fire Giants because everything else is so warm on them, and I want contrast. So this is this dude. But I want to take his sword darker, and usually I go very dark with my metal on these giants, and now that I look at it, I'm like, I need to go even darker with this. It's not dark enough for my taste. So I need to actually go even darker. I might even want to put a thin layer of this over the whole darn thing. And really build it up. Because I don't like light metal on Fire Giants. I just think they've always been done with like black iron armor, and I think that really looks the best. The one problem with this mixture is you've got to get it down fast because you will leave brushstrokes because it's not thinned with water at all. It has very little self-leveling property. This is why we normally don't put it on a big layer like I just did, but I was impatient. So I did. So as you can see, both of these are going to be fairly time consuming on something this big. I mean, and that's true even of NMM. Like any way you paint this big, huge sword, except for I'm going to base coat it and toss a wash on it, is going to be rather time consuming. Just because it's a huge chunk of metal, and if you're trying to do anything other than a slipshod effect on it, it's going to take time. Oh, got a little bit of a hair departure there. So I wanted to darken that up. I want to darken this up. I definitely want to bring this down a lot. And maybe only leave brighter areas near the edges. So if I want this to be a dark metal, then I need to cover a lot of the surface with darker paint. Because the majority of the surface, I made some bubbles. Let's show you how we fix those bubbles. First of all, we're going to load in a heavy shadow. Then we're going to grab more of our goo. So the more color, essentially the color that takes up the most surface is what your model's going to look like. So if you wanted this to be a really black iron weapon, we have a long way to go. Now I want to bring up some texture. I want to break up this. My paint is getting a little goopier, so I think I'm actually going to drop a drop of water in there. Just one. I was leaving it without water because I wanted to be able to build it up quickly. But the downside to that is that it starts getting kind of really goopy, kind of like gel, a gel medium. And so you end up losing more than you gain as far as surface. It ends up leaving a discernible texture, and that can be harder to work with. So kind of have to mess around with it. It is definitely persnickety, but it's cool. I just stick to texture mathophile. Unless you've got a really huge chunk of rust built up, then you could do green stuff, but you'd have to make it so thin and fine. I tend to just like, there are tricks out there, I think, with like baking soda and stuff that you could do to get a fine texture if you want actual texture. But be careful as far as how those things weather or wear. I'm just messing around with this. Mess, mess, mess. We are making a mess. Mess is okay. It is okay to make a mess. Oh, it's dog hair. There is no cat hair in this household. It's always dog hair. It's just Kiri interjecting. So I've decided that I do want this dark black shadow. I'm going to grab some black and I'm going to do a line of it all down here. So that's coming along. Needs more work. This is a very difficult surface to do this on, so hope you all appreciate it. Because it is going to look like it is going to go through the ugly stick phase and sit there for a while until it gets better. I want to let that area dry because I was in danger of peeling up paint. So now I'm going to play with this area instead, which is the nice thing about having a big sword to work on. You can always just leave an area and go to a different area. He's not Ambrosard. Justin's in a meeting with Ed. He might see that when he comes back up. But he is currently, I assume, going over like, new studio or ReaperCon stuff. I think I need a highlight there. I don't remember. Now it's time to double check. Double check light source. Double check light source. All right. So yeah, so this entire panel is going to be lighter, but not as light as the actual light source panel. So we want to keep that lighter and only maybe do a little bit of shadow down in the middle here. Reaper, yeah. All right. Yeah, what Reaper Collins said. Oh, the black I added in is just a black and water. I just decided I wanted, because it's the darkest shadow, you can make it more matte. It doesn't need the sealer to bring it up with a bit of life. But you can see I've got my work cut out for me blending this sucker because of that thick base coat. Or that thick goopy coat. Which is why I think stippling for this technique is a lot better than trying to blend with it. It's much easier to leave texture. And the texture interferes a bit with any bad blending, or like it doesn't, you can blend with it and just get a soft blended effect and not have to worry about trying to make real blends. But you can see that it's not easy. I mean, big surfaces, this is a huge model. If I was really trying to show off, I would have like picked something easier, but This is not an easy one. And I think I want a little bit more light down there. Boom, boom, boom. Yeah, that just did not want to go on right. So part of the problem is just using thicker paint here. Makes it more difficult. Let me see if I can thin some stuff. Thinning metallics is usually fraught with peril, but you can thin metallics to a certain extent. Oh, it's giveaways. Giveaways at reapermini.com. Yes, Gergie is correct. Giveaways plural at reapermini. Well, I was going to get there, I'm Groening, but the same, you got to figure out what color your shadows are, so probably dark browns. I just wanted to get all fancy with this. I'm regretting it already. Wanted to try it and see if I can make it work. The answer may be no. But I really did want to try it, the skeleton key color, and see if I liked it. And it could be just that I'm trying to go too fast with this for you guys' benefit. And I'm not building it up gently like I would. Weird, Brozard. I would almost just resend. There is no hashtag Gergie today. It is not Friday. It is only hashtag Gergie Day on Friday. And we're almost to the end of the month. I think that maybe we did our last Gergie away. Like, is there a Friday this week that's still in July? Or, this is not bad.
Friday is July 31st.
Friday, so we have one final day of Gergie giveaway. And it is this Friday. Indeedy. I'm just going back and forth now. I just want to kind of like mess this up and unmess it up and see what I can do with it. And maybe get some more texture that I like on it. I think I want to switch, actually. Let me see here. Maybe I'll switch to a different brush. Maybe I'll switch to a flat and see. This brush is very sharp for this area. And I might like, I think I might like this a little better. I'm using a flat now that's really a ripped up flat. But when you're trying to do like a stippling texture, sometimes that can work for you. This is very dark though, so I may have to pull it down a bit. But yeah, for gold TMM, you just use gold paint and then whatever shadows you like. Purples can be good, green can be good, red can be good, browns can be good. It really depends on what you're trying to do. One thing I'm not doing right here yet is I'm not reflecting a ground color. So like if there is like his hair is glowing, like right under this blade, I may need to do a reflection color. But first I just want to get this sword blade to kind of the area, kind of the point where I don't hate it. So this may take a while. There. So I'm actually putting down some metallic and then I'm using it almost as a glaze to blend in areas. That's the skeleton key. That can work for you, but you risk it getting streaky. So you got to kind of make sure it's thin on your brush.
What about the brushstroke direction?
On this, I'm not worrying about it. Honestly, I'm just hating this right now and wanting to adjust it. So right now I'm pulling it down toward the bottom edge because I want any buildup to occur along the bottom edge. For the lighter color.
So the brushstroke direction is just to help you blend and is not for any other purpose.
Correct. Unlike with layering, where brushstroke is everything. On this right now, it is not. All right, so I'm getting to the point where I don't hate this. That's good. That's good. We're making progress, everybody. I still, if I'm going to finish this model, if I want to finish this model, I think I'm going to have to go back to NMM with it. I don't think I'm liking entirely how these colors are working out on this. And TMM is definitely coming, is definitely going to be a lot harder to do on this model than NMM. At least for me. I always find NMM very much easier to do than TMM. Which is weird, because it was not, it wasn't something that came easily to me. I had to really work on my NMM skills. There we go. Oh, the Shadow Raven as far as weekends? Every day is Ann day? Weekends, yes. Weekends, I try very hard since I went freelance. I have been trying very hard to keep weekends an Ann and David, or just, you know, Ann time day. We all tend to overwork, and we all need time to just relax our brains and not do work. And I'm very prone to workaholicing. Like, you guys, if you had seen me when I launched this Patreon, oh my gosh, when I was still working full-time at Reaper and doing the Patreon and doing my dog club stuff and doing commissions, like, seriously, it was bad. I was always working, and my brain was in the habit of always working, and that's not good. You need some process time. We all have too much crap, like, hitting us in the face these days, digitally and otherwise, and we tend to take on a lot because we can, right? I was just listening to an audiobook the other day, because it's kind of about how digitally buried we are and how to reclaim our life, and it was like, I think he said the statistic was we take in as much information, as much new information on average in one day as a person in the Middle Ages took in their entire lifetime. Mm-hmm. Something like that. Like, that's because we have so much. Like, the minute we open our phone, we get like 4 alerts with new information that we didn't know yesterday, even if it's just an update on the coronavirus. Whereas in the old days, you had it word of mouth. You didn't hear new information unless the stranger came to the farm, you know, or a guy came through the village.
Underestimating the prevalence of gossip in every age.
Maybe, but you know, that's also a hard thing to quantify. You know, they had to kind of draw some baselines as far as what type of information spread there was. And I guess you can, because there were old newspapers. There were, you know, the printing press was at the 1300s. I don't remember, but
I bet whoever came to that conclusion had an incredibly biased view of information that included a lot of sources of information that are present in the modern day and excluded a lot of sources of information that we don't think about because they're not really part of our lives, but they were part of life back then.
I don't know. Well, you are welcome to look into it and call that guy out, David. I'll look up which book it was. But I could, maybe not an entire lifetime, but I gotta say, like, if I wasn't connected to the internet, yeah, I would not be taking in all of this crap hitting me every day from my email and my, you know, stock news and my, you know, all the rest of it. And all my various things. So anyway, yeah, that's why the weekends have to be Ann time to do whatever. Good or accurate info. Ha ha ha. Valinor, I think you only come on here. Oh, you took off the weekend for the first time in like years? Yeah, Collins, I feel that. Like, it's just so nice, and it's so weird, and your brain doesn't know what to do with it, right? Like, your brain just does not know what to do with time off anymore. We all get, like, bored. But yeah, Rex, I mean, if it's broad metallic surface and 28mm scale, the fact that this is flat makes it harder, right? Like, Kiri is always in front of my display case that I need, but I mean, if it's a curved breastplate, it's a lot easier. You can go, you know, and it depends on how big the surface. This is huge. I mean, this is as big as my freaking finger. One of the largest 28mm. I mean, he really is much more like a, 72? A very broad 72, a dwarf in 72, I think. Where's my millimeter ruler? Let's see. How tall is this guy? Millimeters are useful. I'm going to measure him. So from feet up, he is actually just short of 80 millimeters tall. And if you put the sword up there, it would be more. But he's around 80 millimeters. So he's actually larger than a 72. Big model. Big model. All right, so yeah. So I don't know. Like, I'm trying to decide which way would be the better way at this point. You need to become a mini painter for hire Mathophiles, is that what you're saying? Let's see here. I could probably put in some shadows here. So the other thing, when we kind of use the bones material to figure out, you know, where our highlights were, the thing is we're looking at a flat surface. And so there are always going to be some variations in the surface when you've got metal. So we can put in a little bit of a shadow here. More of a shadow. Kind of break up the surface a little bit. I went back to the other side because I was annoyed at the first side, the other side. So like putting in a little bit of a shadow and then doing a bit of a highlight. Let's see here. Yeah, but painting big surfaces like this flat with metallics. I had not realized how much of a pain in the butt this was going to be. So much easier with the NMMs. All right, let's go back. This isn't actually looking as bad as I'm thinking it's looking. It's just frustrating me because I wanted it to look better. Let's see here. We have some black to go, and this sharp shadow up top. I might want to extend that just a wee bit down the side because the light is coming from here, I think. Wait, no. Oh yeah, it is. Well, it's not even mapping it. Like, it's easy to map it for me, Corbett, because mapping it is the same as NMM. But getting it to blend and look good is really much harder, in my opinion, because metallics, because of the nature of metallic paints. So, really, kind of can be frustrating in a trial. This isn't going to look bad when I'm done with it, but it's not going to look as good as I'd wanted it to, and that's why I'm thinking I'm going to put a little bit of a dark shadow in here. Oh, I've switched off on my flat brush. That's because I'm working on smaller objects. Everybody's do, Maravi. Or Maravi, I think. Maravi the GM. I mean, David's do, mine do. Especially when we're trying to like work around a color or something where we're just like, this isn't working. Why isn't it working? It's not working because it needs more texture. Is it not working because of the color? Is it not working because there's too much orange? Is it not working because there's not enough black? Whatever. So we all hit ugly stages. There are very few models I do that don't hit an ugly stage. And that's the most challenging part for me because it's too easy to give up on the model and just say grr and just reprime it. Start it over. So it really depends on what level of catastrophic ugliness I have achieved, whether I give up on a mini. I wanted some dark shadow there. Yeah, if you just treat it like NMM and add shadows, it's much easier. I mean, like I said, it is a little bit harder. Didn't like that. It is a little bit harder because you're trying to blend with the metallics, and that is a pain in the butt. I wish I had my pearl white. I wonder if I've got a lighter metallic, like, close to hand. Hold on. Let me see if I do. I think the only metallics I have really close to hand are from a different company, and they're not brighter, so let's see. If I can't find this fast, then I'm not going to find it. That's purple. Purple is not shiny. Aha! Yay! Found my pearl white. It's a good thing I have all these bags sorted by color. Pearl white. Magic. And let's see, do I have shiny mithril? I do. Shining mithril is also magic because it is a close to white. See how close it is? So you could use either one. Oh, hey, I dropped a pokey tool on the ground. That's a good way to impale your foot, everybody. It is a Monday, isn't it? So Monday. Oh, cool, Rex. Yeah, I'll take a look at it. Haha, yeah. There we go, Catastrophic Ugliness. It's a good band name, right? It is a good band name. Alrighty, so either of these colors will work with Skeleton Key as a highlight. There's my Skeleton Key. Skeleton Key has a little bit of green and black in it. So the pure white will mix with it a little nicer, but the Shining Mithril just has a tiny bit of black in it. So really either of these will work as a highlight for Skeleton Key. You can mix them together, or you can try to just do a layer up kind of thing. Since metallics are such a pain in the butt to layer, it might be better. Here, let me zoom back out, guys. Just a bit. There we go. And so, yeah, seen from far away, it's not bad. Yeah, don't you hate that? I do still really like this part. I like this flat part a lot. But the other parts, I'm just like, making disgruntled baby Hydra noises at. Totally. Oh, yeah, Shining Mithril. For Grey Knights. Yeah, I could totally see that. It is very, very pale. Ah, blurg. It's almost a pure white metallic. And I wanted that because this paint uses a different flake than the pearl white. So try both because the flakes are very different. And so you may get different mileage out of it. So let's use mithril. And see if I can get mithril to layer. Where is my water? Man, I really am all over the place today. Apologies for the "and all over the placeness." Let's see what I can do. Blorf. Yeah, there's going to be blorfs. There's going to be blorfs, guys. Well, after this, going back to painting Snake Lady is going to be positively a relief. Like, maybe I decided to do this morning just so I could... Alright, so I've got some very thin water level mithril. Really pale. And the nice thing about the Bones Flake is that it does stay in solution better when it is thinned to a very fine level. So it is possible, a little bit more possible, I think, to layer and glaze and build up lighter areas with it. Yeah, this looks pretty from far away in the light. Pretty. If only it looked pretty close up. Oh, hey, I need to add more tarnish. I should do that. Ah! So let's go down. I just wanted to show you guys a little bit on how that thinned down or didn't. And we'll go back in. And let's see what we can do. Let's add some more tarnish. Like, if I was going to add rust anywhere on this blade, it would be here. Maybe I will. First, I want to just darken it down a bit. And this is once again the sealer mixed with the black, the teal, and the blue. Now, if we did want to do some rust, then I shouldn't be putting this teal all over this, but we can go in and do it in a second. We will do it real quick. I wonder if I have... Yeah, I can probably use just the Fire Giant colors for rust, almost. And they are usable as rust colors. Or the Dungeon Dweller colors, rather. Like Kobold Scale and Goblin Skin. Totally usable as rust. Getting a little bit of Skeleton Key mixed in here. Getting just a little bit more stuff built up. So it takes a while to build up the layers, as you can see. So let's say we wanted to do a rust effect at somewhere like here where we think it would pool. Then we'd probably want to put in some really like dark, like black area to make kind of a differentiated area. We would want to put some in this groove here. And then we would do, who knows? It's a ask Tolkien. If we wanted to do more, wherever the fluid would cling, any of these edges, I think. And I like to make them very irregular patches. We're already suggesting that there's texture in this metal by doing stippling, so we can get away with having a couple of different areas. So, boom. Boom, boom. All right, where's my rusty colors? Rusty colors. So, obviously, Rust Brown 9072 is a great rust color, but you can use a lot of different things for rust. Any orangey brown will do. I usually like to use a very bright orange to go up from there, wherever my fireball or my sunrise is. Where did my sunrise orange go? Where did it go, everybody? I've got volcanic. I don't know what happened to my sunrise. Dang it. Don't you hate it when that happens? When you lose your orange and you're like, hey, I need the orange. There it is. Sunrise. So even as bright as sunrise. But first we will start with, maybe we'll use these. Maybe we'll use Goblin mixed with volcanic, because this is a little bit bright. The volcanic orange is just a little bit bright. The rust can be pretty bright. But we'll see. We'll put down a couple drops of volcanic orange with a little bit of this goblin skin mixed in, because I like this kind of brownish rusty color, and I think it'll make it look more real. Ah, and it's definitely wanting to be mixed better than that. It says, come on. Hey, Panzer Lagwagon, how's it going? We are currently struggling through an ugly phase with our giant sword. Giant sword. We're very redundant today. Oh, I needed more sleep. Thanks, Kiri. My dog is like, you're welcome. So that's a better rust color. This is a better, it's not as bright. It's a mixture, 50-50 mixture of volcanic orange and goblin skin. Goblin skin's a lot more brown. Has a lot more oxides in it. Volcanic orange is a more bright orange, but I wanted to start darker and then use the sunrise a bit. So let us grab it. And rust will go wherever fluid is going to pool, and that's usually around like edges where the liquid's going to cling to an inner edge of somewhere. You're going to use a stippling stroke for this. You don't want a lot of paint on your brush. It's much easier to build it up. And rust, if you'll recall, does build up in layers. So getting less and less paint on your brush lets you get finer control. Let's get closer. So what I'm doing is stippling little bits. I want it to be heavier toward this edge where it's going to pool, where the fluid would pool and hold it. But we can put a couple of little spots out here as if there's dents in the metal where the rust has clung and started to erode. And I just like the darker kind of barrier around the outside because I like the way it lets me kind of build this up and define the area. As if the rust has dulled the surface and then that's really blooming toward the center. Fire Giant Panzer. Yeah, this is, hold on. This is the huge giant. Here, huge. Him, Skorg. Skorg is here. Skorg say hello. We painted his skin tones a while ago and his beard. Lately I like going back and forth to projects. We'll do a little bit of swap-a-rooing this week between several different projects, I think. Making a little bit more. Ann. Yeah, you're here, Justin. Whoa. Hail.
Just in time.
It's just in time.
Also, I realized the title says Storm Giant. Is this a fire giant?
It's a fire giant. Did I say the wrong thing this morning when I texted you? I was still on lack of sleep.
I went to go look at it and it said storm, and then you just said fire a second ago. So I want to
Yeah,
make sure
sorry,
you
it's
did
not a
not
storm giant. I got the item number is right that I gave you. 77614. So yeah,
hear
you can
that.
change it.
The magic changed it. There we go.
Magic. Yep, we're doing Rust. We're having fun. We're doing something that's fun instead of continuing to work on a blade that's like fighting us. Because ugly stick. It's ugly stick time for this model.
Collins, don't you have vacation to be on? Go away.
Collins has been very helpful today.
I heard those quotations unhelpful.
Well, you weren't here, so we needed somebody to stand in for you. I mean, he's not disembodied voice Collins, but, you know, you do what you can.
No, he could hop in Discord. Also, Collins, if you're open, that was a really long meeting, and there's some things I'd like to update you on.
Y'all can go and do your business stuff, but we're almost done with the stream, so I'm just going to add Sunrise Orange. I'm not going to pop any muted color into it. I'm going to just use it straight up, and I'm going to concentrate it near the parts where the rust would be thickest. But remember not to just put a line of it. Put a couple spots of the brighter rust here and there. Like maybe one up here. Just to keep it interesting. Rust is pretty random sometimes.
I appreciate you more, Zambies. Don't let Collins take that.
Now it is creeping up the edge there. So if I wanted to do, I can either keep it that way or I can choose to take my dark color and further define it. But I'm kind of happy with it, so. Went a little bit heavy with the orange there, I think. A little bit too regular. Need a little bit more irregularity there. So we've got some rust creeping in on his sword. And with the stippling, I mean, it's very easy to suggest actual texture that's not there. You just have to highlight it. But yeah. So I think we're getting close to the end on this one, guys. Hopefully you at least got some ideas. And hopefully this didn't traumatize you like it traumatized me. But now you have a better idea of how to tackle your shaded metallics, or at least a couple of ways where you could tackle your shaded metallics. I was going to use the mithril, wasn't I? And I didn't get to it. This is really thin. I'd probably have to build up layers.
Oh, sorry. I was going to answer Diomedes there. Typically, that show is about an hour. In fact, this Thursday show, we should have some extra information, maybe like a price, because I happen to know it, but I can't tell you guys. I'm going to hold it until Thursday. If you guys want the price of the airbrush, that will be on Thursday.
Wow.
Also, yes. And we're going to be giving away 5 of them on Thursday, Ann. So maybe you want to tune in.
Wow, I might have to come and type, #free.
Actually, now that I think about it, this might be one of the biggest giveaways we've ever done, collectively.
Yeah. That sounds about right. Dibs. Thursday at what time? Mathfile asks.
This would be 6 p.m. Central for us. If you look at the stream schedule below, it should automatically convert to your time. So.
And that would be Reaper Live.
Correct. Reaper Live
flagship.
is the show you're looking for.
The flagship show. Of course, Ed saves the best giveaways for him. Ed saves the best giveaways for himself. But that's fair. He's the CEO. He gets to keep the best giveaways. Alright, so a little bit lighter. So you can see that that mithril is a very much lighter color than your skeleton key. You could do a mix of them. You could paint one over the other. You could layer a bit. That's actually not a bad blend for metallics. The mithril really is blendable, layerable.
That sucks, Coos, but I mean we're gonna miss you.
Coos, can I make it?
Yeah, it looks like Coos is busy on Thursday nights. But, I mean, it
Ah.
does happen. I understand people have real life schedules and stuff.
Oh yeah, big time. Yeah, if you've already got two airbrushes you don't use, then probably you can hide from the giveaway and not notice if you miss it. Shadow Raven. Though it never stops anybody else when it comes to like getting new miniatures paraphernalia. We all have too much stuff, and still we get more stuff. So I'm just doing a real light glaze of the mithril silver over the top here, just to get a real, see it's coming up really sharp. I could take some mithril and also paint it across the top edge here, just opposite this dark shadow. Remember we did that nice defined dark shadow? Well, now we could do a defined paler line on the other side of it.
And I don't know if you watched on Thursday night or not, Ann, but I believe Ed revealed that we were going to be selling the airbrush during ReaperCon.
Oh, really? Wow.
Yeah, it's a light version. It's going to be in a case, I think is what he said on the show.
Oh,
It's
interesting.
just brush. So if you've got, your own tubes and compressor and stuff, then you're
No,
fine.
no, we're talking about a giveaway for Thursday on Reaper Live Strange, the new Reaper airbrush, the collaboration with us and Badger. We'll be giving away 5 of those on Thursday. Ed and Ron will be giving away. Possibly the biggest, most expensive giveaway we have ever done. And it's a new Reaper airbrush, which is supposed to be pretty awesome. And when Lovejoy was talking about it when he and I were on before I left for California, he was even getting me excited about it, and I'm not an airbrush girl, so.
I'm not either, and I'm gonna be honest. I'm holding one right now, and they're so cool. These are legitimately like I think it's cool enough for like a shelf ornament, even if you don't. Use it.
Shelf ornament. Yeah, that's our next. That's what we next use our airbrushes for. Everybody, just rig up your extra airbrushes as shelf ornaments. Just like make them into found art and hang them on your wall.
But also, Francis, this will just be so the one we're giving away Thursday will just be the brush. So you'll still need hoses and a compressor, and the same thing for the ones during ReaperCon if you want to purchase one. I am actually convinced at this point because of how anticipated this airbrush is. I think we're going to sell out during ReaperCon.
Yeah.
I genuinely think that'll happen because, like I said, that it's really.
We've been talking about it for months. Like we've been talking about it for what, 6 months? People have known this is coming, that it's really, and Aaron went into why it was cool. I guess that's a long VOD ago when we had Aaron Lovejoy on my show. I think it was during my show slot, wasn't it? Like Reaper Toolbox?
I think
the old
so.
Wednesday night.
Yeah.
Yeah, and we were talking about it, and it sounded very exciting. So I'm highlighting that edge, guys. Is what I'm doing right now. We probably should look for a raid or something, Justin. I guess I've gone a little bit over time here, trying to make myself not dislike this as much. A little overtime.
No, Twisted Oma. We've been working on them. We have not released them yet, and we have not fully fledged. So I have to shoot them, and then I'll have to edit them and put them together. So the short answer is no, they're not done yet. Oh, Mocha's on. Why don't we read Mocha?
Yeah, that's nice. That would be good. Mocha's probably painting something much better than my giant sword. So here we go, guys. But here at least, in about, it was about an hour because we had a delay of the technical stuff, and then I started actually doing this. So in about an hour, that's not bad. I still need to clean up this area a lot. It's really streaky down there. I don't like it. I do like the rust part. I need to darken this area, but it's coming along. It's coming along. It's not terrible. So it was a mixture then in the end of the skeleton key color with shining mithril, and I was doing mixes and highlighting with it. And then for the shadows, we were doing a mixture of Tianzia Jade, Void Blue, let's get all our colors here. Boing. There we are. My skeleton key is very fadey. We base coated in carbon gray with some black added. And we did our pure black, right? So yeah, so things like that. Those are the colors we were using for fun.
Don't think Meek has many. This is 99% Ann. This show is all Ann.
Oh, that's right. They're out part the dragon. Yeah, old Pendrake. That's right. Good deal. All right, guys. Well, you have a good one tomorrow. I don't know. We're probably gonna work on Snaky. We might work on somebody else. I've got a couple of models that I was thinking about playing with this week. So yeah, have a great day, and we will come back. And actually, if we come back and work on this guy more, we will actually call him by what he is rather than calling him a storm giant, even though he's monstrous and probably could be one. Alrighty. Have a good day, guys. Oh, and later today is it's Miniatures Monday, isn't it, Justin?
Yes, ma'am.
Alrighty. See you guys tomorrow.
Thank you guys very much for coming out and watching Ann, even when I'm not here. You guys are the best. We appreciate and love you all. Keep being awesome. Why don't you guys tell Mocha that you want to see her teach a con or teach a class at ReaperCon? I don't know if she's signed up to teach any yet, but why don't you ask her if she's going to? And actually, better yet, request that she do a Twitch premiere show on for our channel. That'll be awesome too. Anyway, thank you guys very much for coming out, and we will see you this afternoon. See you.